versus Global!
Today we have the Week 9 Division 4 game from the Blood and Tears Perpetual League. This is the 9th and final game of the league. My name is Jurassics and I'm the head coach of Pointy Ear United, an Elven Union team, and we are playing RipVedder with their Orc team known as Slackers 33. Both teams are currently on equal points in the league, so this is an important game. Will the agile and wily elves dodge away with the win, or will the orcs pummel and smash and walk into the end zone for the win? Let's find out. So Pointy Ear United go in with an experienced team, but they are facing a very experienced orc team, and these guys have got plenty of skills to help them win this game. Slackers 33 make no purchases for inducements, but Pointy Ear United purchase a wizard and an assistant coach. Now we get the toss from the ref, and it's, let's be honest, yep, it's going to be another opponent win on the toss, and they choose to receive the kick. Now the elves line up in a typical fashion for my style. 3 on the front on the line of scrimmage, with our positional players a bit further back. So we see RipVedder retains the troll on the sidelines and then spreads out the strong players along the line of scrimmage. And we see the kickoff, and the thrower runs back with on the ball skill to catch the ball. And we see a fouling frenzy in these blizzard conditions. Turn 1 from Pointy Ear United. We see some dodging away from that line of scrimmage. And we hand the turn back to Slackers. And RipVedder moves their thrower forward, forms up a cage. And then we start to see the offensive players move in for the blitz. Fortunate gets a push but has frenzy. And gets a pow. And that's a knockdown. And he moves up a couple more players. Now Pointy Ear United go straight for the blitz, gets a double attacker down, goes for a reroll and gets a pow, and then uses the blitz move to move away, and then the players skitter away as well from that downed player. And we bring our blitzers back into the backfield to provide some coverage, and we line up our players in that train formation, keeping the catcher way up the field. The big un gets up, moves into base to base. We see a blitz coming from the blitzer, and that's a badly hurt on a relatively experienced catcher. That's not ideal early on in the first half. Now a block on the lineman just gets a push. Moving more players up to get into base-to-base contact and hopefully push the ball forward with strength in numbers and strength in body. And our lineman dodges away, has to use a reroll. We use our blitzer to run into the backfield behind that line of scrummage, put pressure on the orcs from behind as well, and we go for a block, just get a push on a one dice roll, and we turn and we hand the turn back. RipVedder, who's very much pushing down the left hand side of the pitch, that ball creeping forward slowly as the orcs move up. Goes for a block, 2 dice, gets defender, stumbles. And that's a stunned. We get another block, both down, but they have block. A pow from the blitzer. And that's a seriously hurt. Oh dear. We're losing players fast here. And a blitz from the blitzer on the blitzer, and it's a both down. And then we get the block from the lineman who gets a pow, knocks down our blitzer, and it's a stunned. And then we use our fireball to hit the cage. The ball tumbles out of the fallen thrower, and we move our players in, and he goes for a rush and fails and goes down, and that's a turnover. And RipVedder goes straight for the blitz, just gets a push unfortunately, but he's got plenty of players. Picks up the ball, no trouble, and we see the rest of the orcs move into position with the elves. Gets a 2 dice block on our lineman. Pow, goes down, no armor break. Now the elves can pretty much just stand everyone up. Manage to move away a couple of players. And we go for another dodge. That's another failure. Wow. The agile elves are anything but this game. And RipVedder gets a 2 dice pow. Stunned. Now 2 dice block from the big un, both down, and that is a badly hurt injury on that elf lineman. Now a block from the big un on the blitzer, that's a pow. And that's a stunned. And another block on the lineman from the other big un, goes down. And now the blitzer blitzes our lineman into the stands where the crowd pile on, but they are much nicer than the orcs. And the blitzer moves off with their blitz move. And RipVedder moving their orcs up and causing more problems for the elves. He puts the thrower in the pocket there. And our catcher dodges out of the way and positions themselves between the touchdown and the thrower, hopefully impeding progress. And the orcs once again position themselves to make life harder for the elves to dodge away, which they seem to be failing a lot. Now the blitz comes from the blitzer, gets a defender, stumbles, goes down for a stunned. And we see the orcs move into position once again. Get a block, 2 dice, gets a push. Then a 3 dice with both down from the big un, both down. And the lineman is stunned. And the thrower moves forward. And we see a cage forms to protect the thrower. And the elves just skip the turn, allowing the orcs to run it in for a touchdown. And that was a brutal half for the elves. 3 players badly injured or worse, and 1 KO. We get the recovery though. And what can we do from the kickoff? The orcs line up with their 3 strongest players on the line of scrimmage and everyone else back at the touchline. And the elves line up with a spread out T, and it's not likely they're going to make a touchdown on this turn. Now the kickoff happens, and it's a quick snap for the receiving team. Not much more other than moving the thrower forward to catch the ball. Now we see the elves going for the block on the big un on the side. We get a pow, goes down, no armor break. And the blitz comes on the other side for the other big un. And that's a defender stumbles. Goes down. No armor break either. And the elves go for a dirty foul. Don't see that very often, but that did nothing. And the thrower picks up a couple of star player points with a throw to the catcher. As we move into the second half, the elves are a couple of players down, but the orcs maintain their full team for the second half. Now we see the orcs line up with the cup shapes against the elves, helping to cause problems from the go. And the elves line up heavily on the right side, looking to push down and get a try, or to bring the game back to a draw, leaving some of those orcs on the left stranded with their slower movement. But can we get some success and win from this? Now the orcs kick off, and they kick it deep into the back left and get a blitz. This is absolutely not what the elves wanted at this stage. And we see the orcs coming down the left, filling that gap, making up for some of that movement deficit. And we get a blitz on the left. They are going to carve us open over there. The blitz gets them both down. Only the elf goes down. And the ball bounces slightly nicely for the thrower. We stand the elf up and we make some moves with some of our players. Now the thrower picks up the ball, no problem there, and passes it over to our catcher, who catches it. Then we get a 1 dice on the big un for a pushback. Not ideal, and run our blitzer through. We also thread our catcher. And a lineman moves through, but he stumbles for a rush. And that's going to leave us in a bit of a pickle. That should have been the easier move. Now the orcs are able to get back without the elves being fully in position. 2 dice both down, re-rolls it. Gets a pushback, and the blitzer uses fend. And then the big un, unimpressed by the last turn, smacks the rookie catcher into the injury box. And the blitzer has frenzy, pushback, then gets the defender stumbles on the elf. Big un just pushes the other lineman around. Gets pushed into the blitzer, who gets a pow. No armor break. Frees up another orc player. And then the blitz on the catcher. So both down. Rerolls. Defender stumbles. Orc has tackle. And the catcher is knocked out and the ball bounces out. That is unideal. And then the blitzer dodges away with a reroll. A big un makes a block and gets defender stumbles on the blitzer, who sidesteps into a more advantageous position. Now the elves stand up a couple of players. The thrower runs to the line of scrimmage. And we see our lineman dodge away. We get a blitz from our lineman. Gets a straight pow, that's ideal. Knocks him onto the ball, bounces back, and is caught by our lineman, who goes for it and has to re-roll so we don't get another turnover. Blitzer dodges away to provide a little coverage on that lineman, and then we also dodge our second blitzer, causing a bit of a problem for RipVedder. Now the troll makes its move very slowly. The big uns are moving into position. And blitzer gets a push on the blitzer, who sidesteps, stays in base contact. Then another push, he dodges away. Probably should have sidestepped the other way in hindsight. Another push by the big one on the sideline to trap our lineman there. And then the blitzer gets them both down. Stunned. Few Orc players moving around. And a 1 dice from the blitzer gets a POW. And that's another KO. Elves are dropping like flies this half. Turn 11, ball in the Elves players' hands. They've got a bit of work to do. Get a 1 dice POW out from the blitzer. The second blitzer blitzes the lineman, gets a defender, stumbles, and are stunned. Then the blitzer uses his movement to move along, and then the lineman with the ball runs up to the touchdown. Don't want to score just yet. We want to drag it out a little bit longer, hopefully. And we get a 1 dice defender stumbles on that big one to free up our lineman on the sideline. The Orcs are making some moves. We see a 2 dice, rerolls with Pro, gets a POW, and that's another KO for our blitzer. Now the blitz on our defender, then the blitz from the big one on our lineman, goes for it. Oh, he stumbled at the last hurdle, and that has opened up for the Elves to run it in, get that ball in that touchdown before it's too late. Oh no! 3 KOs, non-recovery. This is going to be an almost impossible task with 6 Elves on the pitch. And the Orcs just line up, you know, they don't have a care in the world. And the ball goes into the backfield, on the ball by the Orcs, high kick, and the blitzer fails to catch it. Now a 2 dice, defender stumbles on the lineman, goes down. Oh, double skull, double POW with the reroll. Just a push, frenzy. Both down, both got block. And then the blitz from the big one gets a POW. That's a knockdown. And their Orcs are just doing what they want basically now. The thrower picks up the ball with ease. He's got a bit of protection. And then a final 2 dice gets POW. And that's just a knockdown. Now we start standing up our Elves, and no, that was not the move that was intended. So I had only tried to stand him up and then tried to select that other player, and for whatever reason it thought I'd asked it to move, and then it was too late. That really messed up any chance of our defense moving forward, but we'll give it a shot. That's for sure. Orcs are able to move through the perceived defense of the Elves. Now the blitzer goes for the blitz on the blitzer. Once again, 2 dice, and it's 2 attacker down. No rerolls available. The blitzer gets put on its backside. Now the Elves stand up 2 players. The blitzer dodges away. And then the thrower goes for a blitz. 1 dice on that blitzer on the corner of the cage. Gets a push. Not ideal. And we dodge away another lineman. And then the blitz is 2 dice. POWs. Elf goes down. That opens up for the Orcs. And the thrower's able to run into the midline of the Elven half. And the Orcs can build a pretty strong cage around their thrower. 2 dice on the lineman, gets a POW. And that's another KO. Fill up that injury box. 2 dice, both POWs on the lineman. Just knocked down. And it's Elves' turn 15. Go for a dodge away. Get a 2 dice. Choice by the Orcs. It's just a push. But that pushes an Orc out the way. And then the thrower goes for a 2 dice. Gets attacker down. Rerolls attacker down. And the thrower knocks the other thrower on their backside. And that's a turnover. But I feel we could have done much more. Now the block from the Orcs pushes. The blitzer uses sidestep. Another block uses sidestep. Just dancing around this thrower with all these blocks from the Orcs. This is almost comical. He's making it all the way around. He's formed his own little cage. And it's a frenzy. 3 dice. Another push. And now the thrower is able to squeak out the gap that is formed. And the Orcs move in. Make it hard for the Elves to do anything. And he finally gets a defender stumbles on the blitzer with tackle. But knocks him down. Then the blitz for a push. And well, what can the Elves do? The blitzer stands up. The lineman runs down. Not sure what he can do. And then the thrower goes for a crazy dodge. For a 2 dice block on the thrower. Gets the push. Follows up. And we're really just trying to be an annoyance now for the Orcs. But anything can happen in this game. And the blitz comes. 2 dice. He gets his POW. That should be a no-brainer. And the Orc thrower steps over the line to make that 2-1. Well played, RipVedder. But once again, the Elves suffer from not being able to get players back on the pitch after being knocked out. Our dice rolls have been absolutely shocking at times during this league. But that's 2-1 for the Orcs, and that rounds out the end of the league. So we finish 6th of 10 in our first ever league run, and we did it against some very tough and very experienced opponents. So we have a lot of lessons that we've learned, and hopefully next league we will be pushing for a promotion. I believe Trolle and Ereval have been promoted to Division 3. I believe there's a playoff between Newt and Snuff Kinney to see who goes to Division 5. So there will be some new teams in this league for the next season, and I hope to see you then.